The modern extremist no longer needs a hidden bunker filled with cash or secret meetings in abandoned buildings to keep a movement alive. Today, some of the world's most dangerous ideologies can survive with nothing more than an internet connection, a cryptocurrency wallet, and a small group of loyal followers scattered across the globe. The battlefield has changed. Instead of smuggling weapons across borders, many extremist networks now spend just as much time searching for digital donations as they do spreading propaganda. Their goal is simple: stay online, stay funded, and stay difficult to stop. Understanding how these financial networks operate is no longer just a question for police or intelligence agencies. It is part of understanding how extremism survives in the 21st century. For decades, extremist organizations relied on traditional fundraising methods: membership dues, cash donations, merchandise sales, concerts, and private gatherings often provided enough money to print propaganda, organize meetings, and recruit supporters. Those systems were relatively simple to monitor because they depended on banks, public events, or organizations with physical locations. But the internet changed everything. As social media expanded and digital communities replaced local meetings, extremist movements also learned how to move their finances into online spaces, where geography mattered less than ideology. The first major challenge came when banks, payment processors, and mainstream crowdfunding platforms began removing organizations connected to hate speech or political violence. Companies closed accounts, canceled fundraising campaigns, and refused to process payments for individuals linked to extremist activity. Many believed this financial pressure would seriously weaken these groups. In some cases, it did. But extremists adapted. Instead of disappearing, they searched for technologies that operated outside the traditional banking system. That search led many toward cryptocurrency. Bitcoin became attractive not because it was completely anonymous, something many people mistakenly believe, but because it allowed supporters from different countries to transfer value without relying directly on banks. Public wallet addresses could be shared through websites, encrypted messaging apps, podcasts, or online videos. A supporter living thousands of miles away could send money within minutes. For extremist groups struggling to survive after being removed from mainstream financial platforms, this represented an entirely new opportunity. The case of Andrew Anglin, a digital millionaire of hate. One of the most prominent examples of this adaptation is Andrew Anglin, the founder of the neo-Nazi website The Daily Stormer. Anglin, a figure notorious for his anti-Semitic and white supremacist rhetoric, found himself increasingly deplatformed from traditional financial services. Banks, credit card companies, and payment processors, under pressure from public outcry and anti-hate organizations, systematically cut off his access to their services. This financial isolation, intended to cripple his operations, instead pushed him deeper into the nascent world of cryptocurrency. Anglin openly embraced Bitcoin, publishing his wallet addresses on the Daily Stormer and soliciting donations from his global network of followers. The results were staggering. Reports indicate that Anglin received at least 112 bitcoins, a sum that, at its peak, was worth millions of dollars. This influx of digital currency allowed him to maintain his website, fund legal battles, and continue spreading his hateful ideology, proving that financial deplatforming, while effective in some areas, merely shifted the battleground. His success highlighted a critical vulnerability in the fight against extremist finance: the decentralized nature of cryptocurrencies. Unlike traditional banking, where intermediaries can be pressured to block transactions, Bitcoin operates on a peer-to-peer network. Once a transaction is sent, it's nearly impossible to reverse or block. This presented a significant challenge for law enforcement and anti-hate groups, who suddenly had to contend with a financial system designed to resist central control. The science of tracking, unmasking the anonymous. Yet cryptocurrency was never the perfect hiding place many imagined. The common misconception is that Bitcoin offers complete anonymity. In reality, every Bitcoin transaction is permanently recorded on a public blockchain, a transparent ledger accessible to anyone. While wallet owners may initially appear anonymous, identified only by a string of alphanumeric characters, investigators have repeatedly shown that this pseudonymity can be unmasked. Blockchain analysis firms like Chainalysis, along with law enforcement agencies such as the FBI and IRS, have developed sophisticated techniques to trace these transactions. By analyzing patterns, linking wallet addresses to known entities, and leveraging data from cryptocurrency exchanges, they can often reveal the real-world identities behind many transactions.
Seized devices, digital evidence, and even social media posts can provide crucial clues, turning what was once thought to be an anonymous haven into a permanent, traceable financial record. This increased scrutiny has led some extremist groups to seek out more private alternatives, such as privacy coins like Monero. Unlike Bitcoin, Monero is designed to obscure transaction details, including the sender, recipient, and amount, making it significantly harder to trace. This enhanced privacy has made Monero a preferred choice for those involved in illicit activities, including money laundering and extremist financing, who are actively trying to evade detection. The migration to privacy coins represents the next frontier in this cat-and-mouse game, forcing investigators to develop even more advanced tools and techniques to follow the money. Reports from organizations like the Anti-Defamation League have detailed how extremist groups continue to move hundreds of thousands of dollars through various cryptocurrency exchanges, including some mainstream platforms like Kraken, Binance, and Coinbase. Despite these platforms having terms of service that prohibit hate speech and extremist activity, the sheer volume of transactions and the difficulty of real-time monitoring mean that some funds inevitably slip through. For instance, the white nationalist publisher Countercurrents alone processed over $61,800 in cryptocurrency transactions in 2023, demonstrating the scale of this ongoing challenge. NFTs and symbolism, hate in digital art. As cryptocurrencies became more common, another trend appeared: the use of digital collectibles and non-fungible tokens. While many view NFTs as harmless digital art or speculative investments, some extremist influencers have experimented with them as a means of fundraising and community building. In most cases, these projects are less about the underlying technology and more about leveraging the hype and decentralized nature of NFTs to cultivate loyal online communities willing to financially support ideological personalities. The most controversial example is the Bored Ape Nazi Club documentary by Fillion, which gained significant attention for its claims regarding the Bored Ape Yacht Club NFT collection. The documentary alleged that the project contained esoteric Nazi symbolism and hidden messages understood by a specific group. While Yuga Labs, the creators of the collection, vehemently denied these accusations, the controversy highlighted how extremist aesthetics and coded language can be embedded within digital assets, often under the guise of irony or artistic expression. This case serves as a powerful illustration of how seemingly innocuous digital trends can be co-opted or interpreted through an extremist lens, becoming a subtle yet effective tool for radicalization and fundraising within niche online communities. Beyond this controversy, some extremist groups have experimented with creating their own meme coins or NFT collections. These digital tokens often feature coded names, symbols, or imagery that resonate with their target audience, allowing them to raise funds from supporters who might be hesitant to donate directly through traditional channels. The appeal lies in the perceived anonymity and the ability to bypass mainstream financial gatekeepers. For these groups, NFTs are not just about art, they are about building a digital economy of hate, where financial support is intertwined with ideological belonging and a sense of shared identity.
Fringe crowdfunding, the new digital collection plate. As mainstream financial institutions and payment processors tightened their policies against hate groups, extremist organizations were forced to seek alternative avenues for fundraising. This led to the rise of fringe crowdfunding platforms, which often operate with fewer restrictions and a more permissive approach to content moderation. These platforms frequently market themselves as champions of free speech, providing a haven for individuals and groups who have been deplatformed from mainstream sites like GoFundMe, PayPal, or Stripe. One prominent example is GiveSendGo, which gained notoriety as a fundraising platform for individuals and groups associated with far-right and extremist movements. When mainstream platforms shut down campaigns for controversial figures or events, GiveSendGo often stepped in, allowing these groups to continue soliciting donations. This platform has been used to fund legal defenses for individuals involved in extremist violence, cover travel expenses for rallies and protests, and support the operational costs of various hate groups. While GiveSendGo maintains that it does not support hate, its policies have effectively created a space where such groups can thrive financially. The donations on these fringe platforms often arrive in small amounts, $10 here, $20 there. However, the cumulative effect of hundreds or thousands of loyal followers contributing regularly can generate a substantial income stream. This steady flow of funds is crucial for maintaining websites, producing propaganda, organizing events, and sustaining the overall infrastructure of extremist movements. It demonstrates that extremist financing is often less about securing enormous fortunes
and more about establishing consistent, reliable sources of income that keep organizations functioning over time. Merchandise and identity, branding hate. Beyond direct donations and digital assets, merchandise has become another significant source of revenue for extremist personalities and groups. Clothing, books, podcasts, stickers, music, and online subscriptions allow these figures to build recognizable brands and monetize their ideological content. This approach leverages consumer culture, transforming financial support into an act of participation and identity affirmation. Crucially, many of these merchandise operations avoid explicit illegal symbols, instead relying on coded language, historical references, numbers, or imagery understood primarily by their target audience. To outsiders, these products might appear harmless or innocuous. However, to insiders, they signal ideological belonging and reinforce group identity. For example, certain numerical codes, while not overtly illegal, are deeply embedded in white supremacist culture. By purchasing and displaying such merchandise, supporters not only provide financial backing, but also publicly align themselves with the movement, strengthening its visibility and reach. This intertwining of financial support with identity makes donations feel less like charity and more like an investment in a shared cause. It creates a self-sustaining ecosystem where propaganda is consumed, merchandise is purchased, and funds are recirculated within the extremist network, further entrenching its presence and influence.
The counteroffensive: governments, tech, and blockchain analysis. Governments and technology companies have not been idle in the face of this evolving threat. There has been an increasing level of cooperation between law enforcement, financial institutions, blockchain analysts, and online platforms to disrupt extremist financing networks. Cryptocurrency exchanges, under regulatory pressure and public scrutiny, have begun to introduce stronger identity verification requirements and anti-money laundering protocols. These measures aim to make it harder for extremists to open accounts and move funds undetected. Researchers and private firms have developed increasingly sophisticated methods for tracing blockchain transactions, even those involving privacy coins to some extent. Financial intelligence units globally have expanded their monitoring of suspicious activity, sharing information across borders to identify and interdict illicit financial flows. Major social media companies continue to refine their content moderation policies, removing accounts and content linked to violent extremism, thereby cutting off avenues for direct solicitation and propaganda dissemination. While none of these measures have completely eliminated extremist financing, they have significantly increased the cost and difficulty of operating openly. Extremist groups are forced to constantly adapt, moving from one platform to another, investing more resources in obscuring their activities, and facing a higher risk of detection and prosecution. This ongoing cat-and-mouse game is a testament to the resilience of both the extremist networks and the counter-extremism efforts. The enduring challenge: adaptation and resilience. However, the challenge extends beyond technology. Every new payment system, every technological innovation creates opportunities not only for legitimate users, charities, businesses, and innovators, but also for those seeking to exploit these tools for harmful purposes. History shows that extremist organizations rarely invent new technologies. Instead, they are adept at adopting whatever already exists and repurposing it for their own ends. From printed newspapers and radio broadcasts to cassette tapes, websites, social media, encrypted messaging apps, live streaming platforms, cryptocurrencies, and now potentially artificial intelligence, the tools change, but the underlying strategy remains remarkably consistent. Extremist movements are driven by a fundamental need to communicate, recruit, and fund their operations. When one avenue is closed, they will inevitably seek another. This is why understanding extremist financing is ultimately about understanding adaptation. These movements survive not because their ideas are new or inherently superior, but because they constantly search for new methods of communication, recruitment, and funding whenever older systems become unavailable. Every financial restriction pushes them toward another platform. Every technological innovation creates another opportunity that investigators, policymakers, and civil society must learn to understand and counter. Conclusion: the unending contest.
The story of extremist financing in the digital age is therefore not simply about Bitcoin, NFTs, or crowdfunding. It is about resilience on one side and adaptation on the other. It is about the continuing contest between open financial systems designed to encourage innovation and those who attempt to misuse them to spread hate and violence. Democracies face the difficult task of protecting financial freedom and innovation while simultaneously preventing violent organizations from exploiting that same freedom to expand their influence and threaten societal stability. Money alone does not create extremist movements, but without money, few movements survive for long. Servers must be paid for. Travel costs money. Websites require hosting. Videos require equipment. Propaganda requires distribution. Every ideology, no matter how fervent, eventually encounters the practical reality of financing itself. Following the money has always been a crucial method for understanding how organizations truly operate, and this remains true in the digital age. In the digital age, the battlefield is no longer limited to streets, rallies, or hidden compounds. It also exists inside blockchains, payment networks, crowdfunding platforms, encrypted communities, and online marketplaces. Understanding those invisible financial pathways, the subtle shifts in tactics, and the constant evolution of extremist funding mechanisms may be one of the most important tools for understanding how modern extremism continues to evolve, and how democratic societies can respond effectively without sacrificing the fundamental freedoms they seek to protect. The fight against extremist financing is a continuous one, demanding constant vigilance, innovation, and collaboration across all sectors of society.